Hello everyone, welcome to AWS and Linux Foundation course. So the today agenda is to go over with the Linux log files and the log management, right? So I think we have seen the log introduction in previous lecture. Let's continue the same and we'll have more details about the Linux log file. What does it mean by the log file and how do we manage the log files, right, using the log management tools and using some of the job schedulers as well, right? Well, let's get into the discussion. As usual, to get through all of these we need a Linux system. I have a EC2 instance that is currently running in my AWS account. I just have logged into my EC2 instance using my putty. You all now understood how to logging into the EC2 instance, right? I am directly on the server now to go over about the next level of discussions, right? Great. So I will conclude that whatever we have discussed so far is like one level of the Linux basics. Now we are entering it into the second level of Linux basics case, right? Which will be little advanced compared to the previous. Whatever we have discussed about the file directory permissions are enough to understand. Now we are slowly, understanding how do we manage our Linux systems in an efficient way. And let's get started with the log management first, right? So when the multiple people are logging into my Linux system and doing a lot of changes here, right? And I should have a more control in place. Let's say I wanted to know which user logged into the server, at what time the user logged into the server, the user is passed the current correct credentials or wrong credentials. Maybe I just wanted to know which user has actually switching to the root account using the sudo. Basically I wanted to know the information about the logins, the user logins, not only the user logins, right? Let's say I wanted to know, is there something odd that is happening in my system, in the sense this is the Linux system, right? The kernel is keep on doing some work behind the screen in order to make your operating system up and running. Sometimes there will be some issues in the system. Maybe your hard drive is not working as expected. Your processor is not working as expected. There may be slight errors that it is throwing by your hardware devices that are actually involving in order to make your system up and running. Possible, right? When the system is up and running, you are able to access your operating system, right? Your system maybe keep on throwing them some errors, some warnings, some kind of messages stating that hey, something is not working as expected, correct? So those things are called as a log data, right? So log in the sense the records or you know the transaction information about a particular activity is called as a log, and that logs are generated by the system and providing you those logs information in a specific file which is called as a log file. So those log files will be useful to troubleshoot the issue if something is happened in a by default. The Linux servers are keeping the log data in the /var/log location, right? /var/log is the default directory where all the system related log files will be stored. If you see the list of files and directories in this location, right, you can see there are multiple log files. As an example, you can see the messages, lost log, mail log. We can see there are many other files which are having some .log as an extension, right? All these are the log files that are storing certain transaction information that will be helpful for you guys to do the troubleshooting. System is categorizing what type of log data should be stored in which file, right? So let's say d message is the file name. This file is containing the details about the hardware errors only, guys. When I say system, System is the interconnectivity of multiple hardware devices, right? It includes your hard drive, processor, memory, IO devices. A lot of many devices are connected together to make a system, and that is now up and running, right? If any hardware is not working as expected and there is a small problem with that, that corresponding message will be recorded and that will be available in the D message file. Let's say you have a trouble with your system. You are suspecting that some of the hardware is not working as expected. Then how will you be get to know that information? You always look into this log file, right? So go to this log file and you get the log file. You get a lot of output here. This output will tell exactly which device is having a trouble, which device is throwing some error, right? And what kind of error it is. So all the details will be known in this config in this log file, guys. At this time, I can only tell theoretically that each log file is containing what kind of data in it and what category of the log transaction is stored. Probably I cannot show you exactly a liner stating that there is a problem with the system, because if I need to get an actual error or actual log message which is complaining that something is not working as expected, I need to reproduce the issue, right? Let's say in this D message file, if I need to show you exactly that, hey, this particular hardware is not working as expected, then I should have a faulty hardware in place, the hardware which is actually showing some kind of errors. Then only I can see that here, right? So that is really not possible to replicate the issue to see the actual error. So just try to understand that these are the log files having what kind of data in it. That way, tomorrow, if you get into the real situation, whereas something is not working as expected in your system, to do a troubleshooting, you will know exactly which file you need to refer through. You can go to that file and can see the information. At least you will be getting some handy information available for you to take a decision and what went wrong on the system. That how it works, guys. Right? The D message is the log file which has some information. At this time, I'm not sure, I mean to say, at this time, it's very difficult to understand all these entries. Not a worry, don't try as well. So just understand that D message is the log file which has some details about the messages that are showing throwing by the hardwares. So tomorrow when you get a situation where your one of the device is not working or functioning in a an appropriate way, then you can look into this log file to see what's happening on that specific device specific case, right? That is the D message log file. Going further, right? Let's say messages is the another log file which is the important log file. Out of all these log files, messages log file is most used log file in the Linux system to check what is happening on my Linux server. If any case something is not working as expected, immediately the messages log file that you need to refer through. The var log is the directory where this log file is located. Var log messages log file is containing the software errors. When I say software errors, so there is some software and the kernel related errors also as well, right? Let's say your kernel, which is the core component in your operating system, is the responsible guy to talk to the hardware and finally make the things executed, right? If there is a issue by your kernel software, if it is not working as expected, it is not able to handle a specific task as expected. Is there any software related errors that is coming up in your system? All that kind of the messages will be published in your var log messages file. Hence the reason var log messages is the very first log file that you need to refer through if you wanted to troubleshoot something to see what's happening on your system when it is not working as expected, right? So let me show you this log file, guys, right? You can cat this log file just to see the content inside a log file. Again, you are getting a lot of data inside a file, right? So we can see that the timestamp This timestamp will tell that at what time this particular log entry is recorded in this file. Good. And you can see the log messages as well. What exactly happened here, right? You can see that. So ideally, when your Linux system is not working as expected, then we need to go to this file and go to the specific time at what time you have seen the errors, or at what time the problem is started on your system. You refer to the specific time and see is there any errors that are reported by your error messages log file. That will tell you the problem exactly if something is really happened, and that is recorded here, guys. Again, maybe at this time I cannot show you exactly the error message because at this time my Linux system is not having any problems and it is not reporting. Whatever the entries that you see, all these are a kind of a informational messages for you on how the system is acting on, right? If there is a real problem, yes, the errors will be reported here. We need to look through here on the specific timestamp interval, right, to see what is happening on my system, just to see is there any meaningful error that is helping us to identify the issues, right? And yes, that's what it is. That I think I can show you one liner at least that it makes sense at least now. You see this? The varlog messages is showing that, right? The EC2 hyphen user is actually switched to the root with the help of the su command on specific time. You see, this is the time when this particular ordinary user has switched to the root. Maybe this kind of entries will help us to troubleshoot the issues. Let's say exactly at this specific time something is went wrong. Someone is deleted a file. I wanted to know which user actually logged into the root on that specific time, why this is deleted. I can get some kind of idea by looking into this log file. At least I know that this ordinary user switched to the root on this specific time, right? So somehow this kind of entries will help us. And you see here there is one more entry which is stating that there is one session is granted for this EC2 hyphen user, which is proving that this particular user actually logged into the server on this specific time. Let's say if something has happened wrongly on the exact time, at least I can ask this user, hey, so the system is not started working as expected from this time. We see from the log that you actually logged into the server. So we can ask that particular user what is being done and how this is happened, right? That is how we can take the or take this log files as a reference to do your troubleshooting. Make sense? I'm just showing these are like some log files, how we can understand this log, but it could be any data that is publishing here, right? Based on the type of the issue that you have, you need to look after in the log file to see, right, which message will be more meaningful in getting that information to do your troubleshooting. Get me, guys? Let me clear the screen. So that is about the varlog messages file, right? So you can see a one more message, one more log file called lost log. Lost log is the log file which is storing the details about the lost logged in users. This is the system that is running, right? And the users will be keep on logging into this system by providing this their credentials, right? I wanted to know who logged into this system since past, right? That is what the details are in this log file. This log file is not a human readable, guys. You see, when I try to read this log file, the data is not in a directly a human readable. So this log file can be readable by using a command called lost. You can run a lost command. This command will read the data from that lost log file and will give you the information. You see some meaningful information is kept in here, which says that EC2 hyper user is actually logged into the server on this specific time, and it says that this user is still logged in, right? So that means it tell you at what time the user is logged in, at what time the user is logged out, if he already logged out, or else it will show you that the user is still logged in and he is currently using this system. The IP address, whatever you see, this is the source machine IP address. In this case, I logged into this instance using EC2-user from my laptop, right? The IP, whatever you see, this is my laptop IP address. That way, we will exactly know that from which machine, from which source system this user is logged into this Linux server. That's how we can get to know more information about each user that is logged in. We can even see the system reboot information as well. When this system is actually went for the reboot, from which IP address this is actually went for the reboot, the timeline, everything is recorded here, guys. So let's say unexpectedly your system is rebooted yesterday, and I wanted to know the more details about that, what time the system is actually rebooted. We can come to this command, can get to know more information about this. That will help us to do your troubleshooting, whatever the issue that you have. Correct? Hope you are now getting the significant importance of the log files, right? And how the log files will help us to do the troubleshooting, right? This is one log file that I wanted to refer through. Like that, we can see there are many other log files as well. Let's talk about this. Secure is the log file name. Let's see what is the content of this secure log file. Okay. If I cat the secure log file, the var log secure log file is containing the log data very specific to the user authentications. You see, the secure log file is having only the details about the user logins, saying that, you see, so this particular user is added to the groups, right? And you can see there is a new group is created, new user is created, this user is part of these groups, right? And you can see the details such as EC2-user is logged in from this source IP address to the system on this specific time, and the user is actually logged in by supplying the key. This is the key that you attach to your putty, guys, right? So you see, this is accepting the key. That means your system is accepting the key by validating the key that you are attaching is good or not. So that kind of the information is actually visible in your varlog secure. That way you will know exactly which user is logging in, how they are logging in, at what time they are logging in, from where they are actually logging in, the source IP information. Correct? And you see that because the key is accepted, the system is actually opened a session for this user. And you see, this user is actually doing the sudo command execution to become the root. And you can see that the su command is executed using the sudo permission, right? And he became a root user on, this is the timestamp when it is exactly happened, right? So like that, we can see all the information related to the user logins, guys, right? So if the user who is trying to logging into the system is not supplying the correct credentials, then still the Varlock Secure will be reporting that, saying that, hey, so and so user is trying to access this system, but he is not provided a valid key or a valid credential, and it is rejected. That kind of entries also will be reported in the Varlock Secure. That will help you in understanding if some unauthenticated user, some unknown user is trying to get into your server, you will be having that records as well, who is trying to logging into your server without providing a valid passwords or valid keys. Getting me? So that is how the Varlock Secure will be more useful in understanding, right, the user specific login sessions, guys. Good. Like that, you can see there are many other log files as well. Maybe we will get into the other log files as and when we get into the requirement. At the moment, these log files are good enough. Lost log, messages, secure, dmessages, right? And there are few other log files as well. Each log file has its own meaning and what kind of data it has. we'll talk about these when we are actually talking about the booting process that will be scheduled in the next lectures, right? Good. Let me clear the screen. So can I use this statement as when as and when the system is up and running, the system is keep on monitoring your system status and keep on collecting the events that are generated by the system. What does it mean by the event? Let's say one user is logged into the server, then it has to collect the login information, right? Who is logged in, what time the user is logged in, from where the user is logged in. That is called as an event. That event or a log has to be collected and kept into your file. Agree? That means the log file is keep on growing up in terms of the data that is adding it into the file, correct? As of now, this log file, if I take var log messages, as of now this log file is having the data up to here, right? So you can see that the last line is printed at 5:23:52 second. If you try to look into the file one more time, right, you can see that it is 23:52. I mean to say, right, as and when the system is up and running, it is keep on collecting the log data and it is keep on adding it into the file. The what I'm trying to say here, right? And as you know, when you are keep on adding the content to the file size will go up. Agree with me, guys? It is happening, or you may be observing this in your Windows systems as well. You take a simple notepad file and you keep on adding content to the file size will be keep on growing. Here as well, the problem is I have the log file which is containing some data and the system is keep on adding some data to the log files based on the activity, the events that are generated in our system. And as and when the more data is adding up, the file size is going up. How do you know what is the size of the file, guys? If it is Windows, usually you get into the file and then you do a simple right click, correct? And then you do a properties. This is how you get to know exactly what is the size of the file, correct? So I am really curious to know what is the size of the file that is in your Linux system. du-sh is the command to see the size of the file, guys. Du is mean that disk usage, right? And hyphen sh. Hyphen s is a flag to tell that I need the sum of this file, right? That means I need a total size of this particular file. H is mean that the output should be in a human readable format. Usually, if you don't give H flag, right, your value is not in the human readable. You see the output is giving you as a 88. How do you understand that 88 is the MBs, KBs, GBs, correct? Ideally, we measure the size of a file by using the KBs, GBs, MBs, right? So that units are not showing here when you are not giving the H flag, right? So the H flag is giving the human readable formatted output. Now you see the var log messages file is containing 88 kilobytes of data. And as and when the more data coming in, the file size is keeping growing, guys. Getting me now? So I'm really curious to go to this message file and I wanted to troubleshoot a issue. Okay, because the purpose of the log file itself is to do a troubleshooting, right? When something is not working as expected, go into the log file and see what has happened, because the log files are actually storing the transactions or events of that specific process, correct? So ideally, if you use the cat command and hit enter, by default the cat command will be showing only the last page of your file. Let's say if your file is having some thousands of lines, right? If your file is having thousands of lines, you cannot read all the thousand lines by just running the cat command. the cat command will show you only last few lines. Whatever the number of lines can be best fit in your screen, in your terminal, only those many number of lines can be visible using a cat command by default. But I wanted to read the whole content of my file. The cat command is not helping me here. So if you see that the cat is not helping you guys to read the whole content because the content is more, the cat cannot show you whole content at one single terminal screen, right? Then you need to use a command called more. More is also a command to read the data of your file. The more command works in a different way, right? The more command will read the data page by page. Is mean that if you use more and the file name, you see from the beginning of the file it is showing only one page, and you see more and 1%, it is describing that, right, the file has many number of lines, only 1% of the total lines is currently displayed here. You read through, and then if you wanted to go to the next level of the file, you press a space bar. If you press a space bar, it will go to the next page kind of. You see now, then you have read total 4% of the lines. Again, you wanted to go to the next page of the data, just press a space bar. This is how you can read a data page by page if you are having a huge number of lines in your file. The cat command is just showing you the last page directly. That's the reason the more command is helpful if you wanted to read from starting beginning of the line to the end of the line, and if it has multiple lines in it. If you press enter here, then it will give you a line by line of data, guys. You see, I'm getting a line by line. So let's keep on scrolling up. You can see a line by line of data that is showing you. This is how you wanted to read the data line by line. Usually, if it is a Windows system, you will be using a mouse to do the scrolling, right, to read the data line by line if it is a bigger file. The same thing here, the enter will take you to the line by line. The space bar will take you like a page by page. You see, 16%, 18%. As and when I'm keep on pressing space bar, it is going to the next level of content in a file, right? Once it reaches to the 100%, then you are reaching the end of the file, correct? Then the file is exited from your more command and it back to your normal bash prompt symbol. Good. Sometimes it is even typical to go through the whole content of the file when the file is having some thousands of lines in it, right? You can take the help of a head command. Head, let's say I'm interested to see only the beginning 10 lines of my file, right? Head hyphen 10 means I'm interested to read only the top 10 lines of my file. It will show you only the top 10 lines of your file. Let's say I'm interested to see only the last 10 lines of file. Tile is the command to specify that and give the file name. So the tile command is giving you the last 10 lines of your file. So the head is giving the top 10 lines. The tile is giving the bottom or last 10 lines. 10 is not a constant, guys. Whichever the number that you wanted to give there can give. Let's say if I give tile hyphen 100, it will give you the last 100 lines of your file, right? Like that, if you give head hyphen 100, then you will be getting the top 100 lines on your file. That is how the head and tiles commands will also be helpful when it comes to reading the data of your file, right, when it is having the more number of files in it. Especially the log files will be having thousands of lines, guys, because those are keep on adding up based on the events that are generated in our system. So it's not so easy to read the data, right, by using a simple cat command. Good. Now, du command, yes, this is the command to read the size of the file. Yes, I can see the size. Ideally, so because my system is started just today, you see, my EC2 server is started 51 minutes ago. That is the reason I'm getting 88K size of messages file. Let's say my system is up and running for a year. What should be the size of the file, guys? Can I say my file size will go up to a GBs? Possible, right? Your file size is keep on growing up as it is keep on adding the data in it automatically, and it may go to GBs or MBs level, right? So as and when the file size is growing up, the more number of lines are added, it will be difficult for you guys to read the data, troubleshoot the issues, and identify the problem at a specific time and interval. That is where we need to take the log rotation concept here to manage the log files. Yes, the du command, whatever I'm using here, this is the actual command to see the original size of the file that I'm referencing here. Right, the du command is not only for the file, guys. Let's say the du command I can even use on the directory level as well. You see, the var directory combining, right? The var is the directory that has multiple subdirectories, multiple files, right? The whole subdirectories and files total together, the var directory is currently containing the data, right, which is 411 MB. That's how the du command even helpful to see the actual original size that is consumed by at your directory level as well as the file level also, right? Ideally, du command is a disk usage command which will be helping us to look at the usage of a file or a directory. Let's say I wanted to know the size of a directory called slash var slash log, and this is how it is. You see 8.5 MB of data that is currently there inside this particular directory, right? Let me run the command du hyphen yes and var log. So as usual, when you are not giving the H flag, then the output is not a human readable format. By default, if you are not giving the H flag, then the whatever the number that you see in the output, that will be in the KB format. Right? Usually the humans are not comfortable in reading the size as a KBs, right? When it comes to the MB of data or GBs of data. So giving the H flag will give you the human readable output. Again, if you don't give the S flag, then it will try to give the usage of the child structure. You see now, inside the varlog directory, whatever the subfolders and files are there, it is trying to give you the sizes of each and every child directory, guys. You see, and inside the varlog, there are multiple other folders are there. It is giving you the sizes of each and every folder. That is what is it mean by without a S flag. If you give the S flag, the meaning is, hey, I don't want to see the size of the child structure. I wanted to see the directory itself. That way, rather it is showing you the individual child directory sizes. It will combine all these directory sizes together as a sum. That is what is it mean by the S flag. S means sum. Then it will give you, right, the sum of the whole directory structure. Now you can see that this whole directory is containing 8.5 MB of data. That's how the du command is helpful. Good. Now let me clear the screen. Let me do a ls one more time. Let me go back to my var log location to see the log files, right? What will be the problem here, right? When the log file size is keep on going up, guys, that's what I'm trying to talk about here. Whenever the log file size is keep on going up, it has more number of lines and it's very difficult for me to start looking into the log data. Let's say I will ask you that, hey, yesterday at so and so time, maybe last month at a so and so date something has happened on my system. Can you see, is there any log entries on that specific time what was happened? So now you would like to go back to 1 month old data that we need to look through, is there any log is recorded there? So if your file is having a lot of lines in place and it's very difficult for you to go back to 1 month lost data and see what was happened over there, right? So it's better to truncate your log data as much as possible. Is mean that is mean that I don't want my file size to be a bigger and bigger, having thousands of lines in one single file. I wanted to do a log rotation. Let me call out what does it mean by the log rotation now. Log rotation is the terminology that we use in the Linux system. Log rotation in the sense, rather you keeping all the log data in one single file, better to you delete the data. I mean to say, first you take the backup of the data and you delete the data in the current file. Let me do this manually now. Ideally, will you be worried about the log data of 6 months old in general, right? So mostly if there is a problem with your system, you would like to go back to yesterday's log data to see what was happened. Maybe go back to 1 month log data to see what was happened. Will you be going to a last 6 months of data to see what was happened to my system 6 months back? It's very rare, right? Just troubleshooting the issues, what was happened, and very long time, correct? So that is the reason, right? I don't want the old messages are still showing up in my log file. I wanted to clean up this data, and if in case I feel that no, I need a old data to be, you can take that as a backup and keep it into a separate file. I'll Let me follow that log rotation process now. What I'm doing, I will copy this messages file into a separate file. You see, I'm copying the current messages file to a one more file. I will call this file name as messages. Maybe I will give dot. Maybe I will give a timestamp as well, just to understand that this particular copy operation is done on a specific time. Just to understand that at what time you actually copied this current file to this particular new file. So it's better to always give the date as an extension to the file when you are doing the copy operation. And now you hit enter. Now you see ls minus l. Now you have two files, right? Whatever the log data that is recorded. Good. We are discussing about the log rotation, right? You see, whatever the log messages that are currently in your actual messages file, that I have copied it into a separate file. Now, can I say that the data is duplicated, copied? So I don't need the original data to be on my file, right? Let me delete that data. Getting me? But I don't want to delete the file itself, because var log messages is the default file where the system is keep on adding some new log data, right? I don't want to delete a file. If you delete this file, then where my system will be adding up the log data, correct? The file should be there. Inside the file, the data has to be deleted. How will you do that, right? Ideally, you can use a greater than symbol and then use the messages file and hit enter. This is how you nullify the data inside a file. If you do a ls minus l now, your current messages file is a empty file. Either it is empty, or at least after you nullified the data inside a file, the system might have been started writing some more data as well, right? But let me see du-sh messages. You see, the current size of my file is almost zero. It's like zero actually. The system will start adding a few more log messages to this message file as and when it receiving some new events or new messages coming. What I did, I actually copied my current messages data as a backup to a separate file, and now onwards, whatever the data coming in, that data will be get recorded in the current file only. What's the advantage, guys? At least now onwards, your current file is having only less number of files. If I need to do a troubleshooting, I will be going through only less number of lines less number of the file size only. I don't need to struggle a lot in dealing with the large files first thing, right? But the question here is whatever the file that I have taken as a backup, yes, this file is having the whole data, right? The one which was generated before, right? So do I need to keep this file on my system or should I be deleting this file, right? So there are two scenarios here. Each project will have their own data retention rules, precisely log data retention rules. The log data retention rule says that, hey, I would like to keep my message, keep my log data for 1 month. I would like to maintain my log data for 2 months, 6 months, 1 week, 2 weeks, 10 days. That retention time will be differ from project to project. Whatever the retention time that you are looking for, you try to keep your data in only that many number of days. After that, you have to delete a file. That is the rule. So at the moment you take it into the backup and you keep the file in your system for some more days, right? Up to your meeting your retention time period interval. Once that is crosses, then you have to delete a file. That's one thing. The second thing, now this particular backup file, whatever I have taken, right? This is consuming the space in your system, right? Right? So is it a good practice to keep this file as it is and let it consume the space in your hard drive? Remember, ideally you will be doing the compressing, right? You do a zip and keep the zip file. That way it is not consuming more space from your hard drive. That's how you usually follow the practice in the Windows system, right? I can do the same thing here as well because this is a backup file. I don't want the backup file is actually consuming more space from your hard drive. I can do the compress as well. The gzip is the command to compress a file in the Linux system and specify the file name that you would like to compress and hit enter. Now you see that the backup file that was taken is compressed. The compressed files will be having .gz extension. Now you started looking at to the original file. The original file is actually started adding a few more data, guys. Now at this time, if I see what is the size of my varlog messages, you see sometime back I have nullified my file to the 0. Again, I can see that the 4K size of the data is started adding up into the messages file. Correct. So if you really wanted to go back in the timeline and wanted to troubleshoot what was happened, then you look into the zip, zip file which is having the old data. If you wanted to troubleshoot the issues which are current at this time, then you see the latest data in the actual messages file. That is how we need to do the log rotation, guys. Obviously, after a week of time, your current messages file will be filling up with a lot of data, right? Correct. Again, your size is going up. What do you do? Again, you copy the current messages file as a backup. You specify the timestamp when exactly you are actually taking this backup. Again, you compress this. You see that I have taken the current file as a backup. Again, I have compressed it. The current file, again, I can nullify this because the data is already taken it into the backup that is available in the zip file. That is what is it mean by the log rotation, guys. Good. After a few days or after a few weeks, you will be seeing a lot of compressed files in it. Do I really need to maintain all these compressed files in my system? No, you just need to maintain based on your retention period, right? So let's say as an example, if you're if you are doing the retention of 4 weeks, right? And the log rotation will happen once in a week. That means after a month of time, total you will be getting 4 gz files, correct? Every week we are doing the log rotation. Every week we are creating one .gz file. In a month of time, you will be getting total 4 files, right? After 1 month time, you start deleting the old gz file which is not required, because as per the project policy, you need to maintain only 4 files in it, which is equivalent to 4 weeks of data. So if you wanted to do the troubleshooting, you can go back to 4 weeks of log data only to do the troubleshooting, right? If I wanted to go back to last 6 months of data to troubleshoot it, it is not possible, because the older than 4 weeks of data is actually deleting in your system based on the retention policies that are defined as per your project. Agree with me? That is how we need to do the log rotation, guys. And as and when you see, no, this gz file is very much older than 4 weeks, let's say, then we can clean up that. So remove that files. That is the log rotation. The problem here is how will you manage all these log rotations manually? Here I have shown you a completely manual, right? What commands that you need to run in order to first take the backup, then you compress it, then you nullify the current file, and then you delete the old files, whichever you don't want it. A lot of things are involving here. How do we automate this log rotation policy? That is what is the next discussion. Getting me? Right? So I don't want the log rotation to be a manual approach. I wanted to automate it. To automate the log rotation, the Linux has the concept called log rotate utility. That means there is a configuration file is available, which is /etc slash log rotate dot conf. /etc slash log rotate dot conf is the configuration file where you need to define your settings, how you are expecting the log rotation to be done. All what you need to do is edit this file. This file has some settings, how you are expecting your log rotation to be done, right? In this file, if you look into the bottom, this is the syntax how you need to add in the file, how you are expecting a log rotation to be done. Let's say I wanted to do a log rotation for my var log messages file. All what you need to do is specify the file name. Var log messages is the file name that I wanted to do the log rotation. Open the curly brace, close the curly brace. Within these curly braces, we need to specify the settings or the behavior, how it has to perform the log rotation. What is my requirement? My requirement is weekly once I need to do the log rotation. Specify weekly. What is my requirement? I wanted to create a new file, right? That's what I did it manually when I done the log rotation, right? I wanted to create a new file. The new file should be with 644 permissions. The new file should be with a root username. The new file should be a root as a group. It's up to you. The files that are getting created can be with which owner, which group, which permission. All those things can be customized here, how it can create a new file, right? And we can specify that no, when it is actually creating a, a backup file, which is like a log rotation, that file has to be compressed, right? We can specify that, hey, my file has to be compressed. Specify compress keyword here, right? And let's say I wanted to maintain total 4 copies, right? Weekly once it is doing the rotation, you will get one gz file. I need total 4 gz files. If it is having more than 4 gz files, okay, go and delete the oldest one, whichever is not required, because my requirement is to keep only 4 weeks of log data. Then you specify that rotate is the directive name and specify 4. So it will maintain only 4 copies of your log rotated files. The older than 4 will be get deleted. That is how you need to mention all the properties inside this curly braces to tell exactly how this file has to be rotated. Whatever I did sometime back manually, the same thing now I'm transforming it into my configuration file, nothing new that I'm doing. And these are the standard options that you need to use here, how we are expecting your log rotation to be done, like the log rotation period and the how many number of log files that you wanted to maintain, whether your backup file should be compressed or not. All the details can be specified in this file, guys. Good. You can mention multiple files with the multiple different values here, not a problem. You see, varlog wtmp is the file that is following these properties in order to do the log rotation. This file will be rotated once in a month. And you see below, varlog btmp is another file that you see as an example. Varlog messages is the file that I am doing now. Every file can have its own properties here, guys. Sometimes, why should I be worried about giving this same property in every file? If your requirement is all the log files should follow the same retention, right, and the same the interval, then rather you worrying about giving this weekly, giving this rotate, giving this compress here, right? It's better to give all these characteristics at a global level. Global in the sense, you go to the top lines of this same file and you see here I'm giving weekly, rotate, create, and even I can see that date ext. That means, hey, when you are actually creating a new file as part of this log rotation, the file should be extended with a date. At least we'll know that at what time that file is actually taken as a backup, right? We can give those properties at a global level. Whatever the properties that you mention here, this will be applicable to all the log files whichever is mentioned in this file. If you mention the rotate policy at a global as well as inside your specific file level, then your specific file will be taken a precedence and that will be applicable. Let's say here I mentioned that, hey, maintain 4 files. Inside a specific file, I have mentioned that maintain only 1 file, right? Then the properties that you are mentioning within a specific file block will be taken as a precedence and only these will be applicable to your file. If your file specific properties are not mentioned, then it is going to take the properties that you have mentioned outside of the file definition, which are called as a global. That is how the log rotate configuration file is working, right? So however you need a log rotation, accordingly you go to this file and configure your file and the properties, right? And then you save the file. Once you add your properties here and once you save the configuration file, then the settings are stored here. How will you execute this file is the next question, right? If you wanted to execute this file, the command is log rotate space the file name. This is the command that needs to be executed in order to execute the definitions that you have given in the file, guys. When you hit enter, then it will take care of it will take care of processing the characteristics that you have added in the file, right? That is fine because it is complaining that the duplicate log entry because varlog messages is already added in the log rotation policy by default. So it is saying that, hey, you cannot add that file one more time because that is already taken care of. Let me remove this for now, right? Once you add the details in the log rotate configuration file, this is the command that you need to execute. Log rotate space the file name and hit enter. Then the log rotate command will go to this file, will read the information, will go to that log file. Then it will be following all those log rotation policies to take a backup, nullify, create, compress, and delete the old files. Everything will be taken care automatically once this command is executed. Now the question is how this command will be executed. Correct. When I say automated, everything should be automated, right? Every day automatically my log files has to be rotated. I don't want to involve here in logging in and running this command, right? So now I need to schedule this command, correct? Whichever the command that I'm expecting to run, this command has to be scheduled. That is where I need to take the help of job schedulers, right? As of now, every day I need to logging into the server, I need to run the command. Then it will take care of whether the log file has to be rotated or not based on the configuration that you have given, correct? So if this command has to be scheduled, then I need to take the job schedulers, which is like a cron tab. Cron tab is the another utility in the Linux system which is used to schedule the job. What does it mean by the job? A command that you are expecting to run on a frequent interval basis, that command is called as a job. In my case, the log rotate space the file name. This is the command that I'm expecting it to run automatically every day, right? So this command is called as a job because this is going to be scheduled to run frequently. This job can be scheduled using a cron job. It's kind of a alarming, right? You set a specific time interval. Hey, this is the time, right? This command has to be executed. Then the system takes care of automatically to run the command. That is what is it mean by the job schedulers like a cron job. Let me schedule this command, guys. Okay. Crontab -e is the command to edit a cron tab and schedule this job. When you run crontab -e command, it will actually be opening a VI editor. In this VI editor, go to the insert mode and start filling up your syntax. What is my requirement? My requirement is the log rotate command has to be executed daily, right? Every day this command has to be run. Then it takes care of doing the log rotation based on the policies that are mentioned in the configuration file. The syntax is like this. First, you need to specify the minutes, hours, then date, correct? So the minutes, hours, date, month, then the day, then the command. This is how the syntax will be here, how we need to fill up. Now you need to understand what is the cron tab syntax and how we need to add this information. Let me get more details about this case. Let's say I wanted to know the cron tab syntax. Let me see if I have that handy in my documentation. I will be adding all these details in the learning documentation for you guys. Rather you know searching in the whole system, right? So let me go to the documentation and let me go to the job schedulers. This is where you can see the job scheduler and this is the syntax. You see this is the example syntax how we need to write a cron job, and you can see there are different examples that are mentioned here. Let's say this example is to run your command at every 10 minutes. This command is to run it in every Monday at 4 p.m. Right? That's how the syntax is there here, guys. This syntax is minutes, hours, date, month, and the day, whether this command should be executed on Sunday or only on Monday or only Tuesday. That is how the syntax is there. Let me follow the syntax and let me construct it in my configuration file as well. What I do, let me remove this syntax and let me add a right one. Let's say my requirement is this command should be get executed every day at 4 p.m. as an example. Minutes are 0, hour is 4, sorry 4 p.m. in the sense it will be like 16, and it can be in any date, it can be in any month. That particular day could be any day. I'm not worrying about the day will be a Sunday or Monday or whatever, right? So if you that is the case, give it as a star. My syntax is ready, guys. If you are very particular that no, my command should run only on a specific days. If it is a Sunday, let's say no, my command should not be run, then we need to specify accordingly here. Ideally, 0 means Sunday, 1 means Monday, 2 means Tuesday. That is how the numbers are prescribed here. Which day that you wanted to run this command, you can specify that. Let's say I need this command to be executed start from Monday to Friday, then it will be like 1 to 5. That is how you can customize your crontab syntax, how you are expecting this command should be get executed automatically. Rather you logging in and running the command, the system will run this command automatically for you based on the schedule that you specify here, guys. Make sense? If the command has to be executed on any day, not every, then give it as a star. Same thing like, my command should be get executed any month, then it is a star. If you are very specific, no, only it has to be run on John month, then you specify the January month as a number. Then this command will be run only on the John month, not on any other months. If you are very specific, then fine. Or else let's say it has to be run on John month to maybe a March, then you can specify using the hyphen symbol. Let's say I am interested to run this command, it can be in any month, give it as a star. Even the date as well. Star means any date. If you say 01, then your command will be run as per this current syntax. Your command will be run any month, first date at 16 p.m. right? And that can be any day. That is how we are actually scheduling the job when you are expecting the command should be run, guys. I'm showing all the different possible options in one single liner rather me going and started executing them one by one. Now what is the syntax, guys? Star by 5 and let me specify 16. Whenever I say star is mean that which is applicable or matching for anything, right? The first column is talking about the minutes. Star by 5 in the sense every 5 minutes. That means this command will run any month, any day, any date, every day at a 16 hour at every 5 minutes. That means this command will be run at 16, 16:05, 16:10, 16:15, 16:20. That is how every 5 minutes, right, it will be get executed. That's what is it mean by the by 5, like we are doing the step of 5 minutes, right? And when you say 0, so this is exactly at a 16th hour. That is how we need to compose a crontab syntax, and then you do escape colon WQ and hit enter. That's it. Now the crontab is successfully scheduled. To see the jobs that are scheduled, the command is crontab -L. Then you can see that this is the job that is scheduled to run at every day at a 16 hour, and that's it. Now your system will take care of running this command for you automatically. Good. So the cron tab is the job scheduler. It can schedule any command that you like to, guys. Here I'm giving this log rotate command as an example, but it could be any command, right? Let's say current at the time, right? At this time, my time is 6:18, right? Let me do a simple change. I can tell one more job as well. At the 20th minute, it can be a any hour, any date, any month, right? Any day. I wanted to run a command called a touch command. As an example, touch slash, let's say, F F30, right? I can schedule a one more job. Let's say at 21st minute, I wanted to run a one more file. I'm just showing that the command could be anything, guys, that you like to, right? That command will be get executed as and when this time matches. That is, what does it mean by the job scheduler, right? Here I'm taking some example commands, but it could be any command as and when the requirement comes in the real time. Save it. Cronjob-L. Now you can see that there are three jobs that are scheduled, and this is the job schedules. Now I think if I wait until the 20 is already completed, right? So if I wait for 21st, I'm sure this command will be get executed. Let me check whether this the command that I said that it has to run at 20th minute is actually executed or not. It's done. You see, the F30 file is actually created automatically. Why? The touch slash F30 command is automatically executed as it is matching with this timeline at a 20th minute of every hour, right? Yes, this is executed. Now let me see what is my current time. ls minus l slash F43, right? You see, this particular file is not available at this time, but if you wait for some time, once the time is reaches to 21st, this command will be get executed automatically, and I'm sure this file will be get created. Just to prove that how the cron tab is working to schedule the commands to be run automatically in a system. Yes, now the system time is crosses 21. Yes, my command should have executed at 21st minute. Let me verify my file. You see, the file is created, guys. Hope you are understanding, right? Good. For some reason, let's say your command is not executed, your files are not created, something has happened. How will you be troubleshooting them? As I said, log files, right? You go to the var log location, and now you can see that there is a log file called cron. Cron is the log file that is storing the details about the cron job execution. If you read the cron log file, you see that at, at this specific time, the touch slash F3 command is executed. You see, at the 21st minute, the touch slash F43 is executed. For any reason, if these commands are not executed properly, then at least you will get to know the error here, why this is not executed. I can show you the error as well here, right? For example, the current time is 22. Cron tab -E and hit enter. I can copy this line and I can go for, let's say, 24. Let me do a small mistakes here, guys. Maybe rather me using the touch command, I'm just doing some typo because that commands are not available, right? It has to show you at least a error that, hey, it is trying to run the command is not found. That is what I'm expecting in my log file. You see, now it is 23. At the 24th minute, it will try to run this command. It will generate a log saying that the command is not found, right? That's how the log files will be helpful to see the behavior, what is happened respect to your specific processes. Here, the cron logs are located in the cron file, and we need to look through the cron log file to see what is happening. Still, it is not 24. Let me wait for some time and let me look through the cron. Well, now it is 24, guys. Let me see the log file, and now you see this is executed, right? So as this is executed from the root, I don't see a error at least reported here, right? So that is fine. But usually it has to show the error as well, saying that the command is not found. I'm not getting that error at least here. Possibly this is actually executed from the root, who is the super user, right? Let me clear the screen. One last note before we are done for today, right? So if you have a specific requirement like my job has to be executed every day, get me? My job should be run every day. That is a standard requirement that every people will be having, right? Those kind of a standard schedules can be added to a file called /etc/cron.daily. You see guys, /etc/cron.daily is the folder, is the directory. Inside this directory, if you put your script, those scripts will be executed automatically every day. You don't need to schedule a cron tab and specify the timestamp, all those things not required, right? These are the standard schedules. Whichever the scripts that you are expecting to run daily, you keep them inside a cron.daily folder. And you see the log rotate command or a script is already there inside a cron.daily. That means really you don't need to explicitly define that the log rotate command should be run every day. That is not needed. Why? The log rotate script is already there in the cron.daily. Whatever is there in the cron.daily will be get executed automatically daily once. So this is auto taken care of. We don't need to worry about adding them up. So like that, any script that you are expecting to run every day, you add them it into the cron.daily folder. Any script that you are expecting it to run once in a month, then you can add them it into cron.monthly folder. That is how the Linux is giving you some default folders if your schedules are right, if your schedules are daily base or hourly base or monthly base or weekly base. If your schedule is not anything related to these, you have a very specific schedule. No, I wanted to run this twice in a day, twice in a month, every day at 5 o'clock, very specific to the time. If you have a custom schedule, then you go to the cron tab -e and add your schedule over there by following the syntax: minutes, hours, date, month, date, day, and the command. That is how the job schedules are working here. Good. We got some hiccups today due to some network delays, guys, but overall we are able to complete that. The importance of the Linux log file and how do we do the log management by rotating the log files manually I have shown, and automated using the log rotate utility by keeping the log rotation configuration in the logrotate.conf configuration file and scheduling the jobs using the cron scheduler, right? The cron scheduler can schedule a command or a script to be run. That could be any command or any script that you would like to give based on your requirements. All what you need to understand the logrotate.conf configuration file syntax, how you mention it as like a weekly, how many rotated files has to be maintained, all those things. And when it comes to the cron, we need to understand the syntax about mentioning the minutes, hours, date, month, all these things. Going back into the time, and the uptime is the command which will be showing you that when your instance or a server is, or since when the server is in running. You see, up 145 is mean that your server is actually running since last 1 hour 45 minutes. That is how you get to know that when the system is actually started. And you will know how many users are currently logged into this server. This is the the important information that you get to know using your uptime command, guys. Most likely, if I ask you, hey, can you check if the system is rebooted, right? How will you know? The uptime is the best command to check if the system is rebooted. I can show you that quickly. Let's say from my AWS, I am actually rebooting the server. Okay. And obviously, rebooting in the sense the server will go shut down and will be getting started again, right? That is what does it mean by the reboot, correct? When you reboot the instance, right, definitely your current logged in session will be get terminated. Now let me re-log into the system. It may take some time as usual, right? If you are rebooting your laptop, how it is taking some time to re-come up, right? The same thing here as well. So let me wait for some time. The system will come back, and that time, if you run the uptime, that will tell exactly when the system is back, or since how long the system is up and running, right? That is what is the usefulness of the uptime command. Let me restart the session. Now the server is back, right? Let me run the command called uptime. You see, the system is running since last 0 minute. Obviously, right? It just started just now. If you wait for some time, it will start showing you it is up last since 1 minute, 2 minutes, or whatever. That's how the uptime command will help you to understand since how long the system is up and running. Make sense, guys? So I think that's the story for today for the discussion, and we'll continue the discussion tomorrow. We'll try to cover the gaps that we have and the other concepts that we must be knowing. Thank you.